Welcome for today's webinar, which is called From Copy and Paste to ChatGPT, New Challenge for Plagiarism Detection System. Before we begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Anna Zotova, and I'm an instructional designer in Advacheck company. Advacheck is a plagiarism prevention system, and we are interested in academic integrity, plagiarism prevention, and plagiarism detection. And just a few tips for today before we begin. The webinar will last about 60 minutes, maybe less. Today's session will be recorded and shared. We will send you a link to your email. Please use the chat for introducing yourself, for answering my questions. And if you have some questions for me, please drop them in the special Q&A chat so that I can see all your questions and answer them in the end of this webinar. So what's the plan for today? We will discuss with you evolution of plagiarism from copy-paste to ChatGPT. We will discuss ways to solve plagiarism detection problem. And we will speak about quality of plagiarism detection system. I will tell you a few words about Advacheck company, and there is a little bonus in the end of the webinar for those who stay with us up to the end. So let's begin with the evolution. Evolution of plagiarism from copy and paste up to ChatGPT. At first, I should explain that when I say evolution, I mean that types of plagiarism has been changing through different periods of time. And we can say that these types of plagiarism or these trends were popular during different periods of time. Here is a picture, and you can see that it started from copy and paste, and then it goes up to AI written texts. I will give you an example of every type of plagiarism, and I will explain to you what it is if you don't know, but I guess most people know what these types of plagiarism are. And let's begin with copy and paste. Here on this picture, you can see an example of copy and paste in our system Advacheck. So what is copy and pasting? Basically, it's when a student or an author takes someone else's text and presents it as their own, without any acknowledgement, without citation. So here you can see an example. The text is red colored. It's an introduction about cognitive psychology, plays a vital role in people's everyday life. And here is the source. And you can see basically the same text. Cognitive psychology plays a vital role in people's everyday life. So a student just took this text from a website actually and pasted into his work. Maybe if you have a small screen, I think that the text is too little for you, but I will read it to you. And after this webinar, we will send you a presentation. So the next one is paraphrasing. What is paraphrasing? It means that an author or a student takes someone else's text and just changes some words or maybe some sentences. By synonyms, there are even special programs called text spinners, and they can rephrase the text for you. Here is example. You can see before moving to England in 2006 to teach, I believed that English people would know as much about me as I did about them. This is a meticulously paraphrased text. This is the source. And here you can see what was really written in this article. Before emigrating from Ireland to teach in England in 2006, I assumed British people would know as much about me as I did about them. So here, moving to England, here, emigrating from Ireland. It's basically the same text with some of the synonyms. let's go further. Another example is text modification. If you look at this text, especially if this text is printed on paper, well, nothing is wrong with this text. It's just a simple text. Let's take a closer look. Here you can see that there are areas, pink colored areas, small ones, big ones. What does it mean? It means that in these areas, there is insertions like invisible signs, and there is white hidden font, small font size. So actually what is written here is just blah, blah, blah. And the question is, why do students do that? Why do they insert big amount of white hidden small text? The thing is that usually we pay attention to the percentage of similarity. And if we increase the percentage of the whole content, then we decrease the percentage of similarities. So this is done to decrease the percentage of similarities. Yeah, here on the right side, you can see what is really written on this text. Next example is cross-language reuse. Here is a checked document, and it's written in German language. And here you can see sources in French and in English. And basically, it's the same text. What is cross-language text reuse? It's when someone takes an article or a text written in one language, and they just translate it into its own. Sometimes it's a double translation, when students translate the text from, I don't know, for example, from German to French and then to English, so that the original text is modified. I will read an example for you in German. Das bedeutet, dass jeweils 4 Provinzen zusammengenommen, zum Beispiel die 4 Atlantikprovinzen oder die 4 Westprovinzen. And here in English, you can see the same text. This means that any 4 provinces taken together, for example, the 4 Atlantic provinces or the 4 Western. This is an example of cross-language text reuse. And another one, here the checked document is written in Spanish. And here the document in Portuguese. The document in Portuguese was the original one, and the author just translated this text into Spanish. And the last, but not the least, of course, AI written texts. Everybody, I guess, knows about ChatGPT nowadays, and this topic is discussed. Just to remind you that ChatGPT has a lot of capabilities, but also it has limitations. It may occasionally generate incorrect information. It may produce some biased content. And of course, it has limited knowledge of world and events after 2021. But I want actually to calm you down because plagiarism detection systems has algorithms to detect AI-generated texts. So there's nothing really to worry about. If the text is generated by ChatGPT, then the plagiarism detection system, such as Advacheck, will find it. How does it work? There is a special neural network, and we teach this network to detect suspicious documents with text generated by ChatGPT. So this neural network, this neural net is teachable. That's why actually there's nothing to worry about. But of course, there are a lot of discussion for ChatGPT to be or not to be. And I just want to discuss it a little bit with you to see pros and cons of ChatGPT. So at first, on the left side of the picture, you can see pros, and on the right side of the picture, you can see cons. So how can we use ChatGPT in our class? First of all, we can explain stuff in different ways using ChatGPT. It can help students to explain stuff by stories, by making poems at different levels of complexity. So sometimes it's really important for students to understand stuff, because if they don't understand the material, they can't prepare a good work. The next one is scaffolding. We can use ChatGPT to give students different tasks. Students can use ChatGPT to learn more about time management. Why is it important? You see, a lot of students cheat because they have poor skills in time management. And ChatGPT can help students to write an essay, to give them an algorithm how to write this essay, how to manage their time. It can help to increase their self-care, to analyze different reasons why do students want to cheat. And of course, it can be used to develop needed skills. So there are a lot of possibilities. If ChatGPT is prohibited, then of course it should be explained to a student. Why do we prohibit it? Why is it important that a students write their essays or some papers themselves? And cons. Of course, ChatGPT is quite a seducing thing. And if you have it in your life, it's much easier, not to spend time on writing a boring essay, or just go and print a question and the essay is ready. So of course, it may increase cheating. But students should understand that if they don't express themselves, why do they write these essays or these papers? To express themselves. And if they cheat, if they take someone else's ideas and present them as their own, they don't express themselves. And another reason, which can be regarded as cons, is that the society is not ready for ChatGPT right now. I guess you've heard about Elon Musk and Steve Wozniak, who wrote an open letter and asked to pause a giant AI experiments because our life will be changed profoundly and the society is just not ready. So maybe they're right. It's a topic for discussion. So, and I have a question for you. I would really appreciate if you write me your answers in chat. What types of plagiarism have you already dealt with? Maybe you had some interesting experience with ChatGPT. Maybe you have dealt with cross-language borrowings. So use the chat to answer the question. Because it's really, really interesting. Copy paste, paraphrasing. Thank you. Something else? Paraphrase plagiarism. Actually, paraphrase plagiarism is really difficult to detect, but it's always good when you know a student. We will speak about it later. not exactly plagiarism, but I've seen someone use ChatGPT in combination with our job postings to generate a resume. Oh. All of the methods. Oh, all of them. I guess you have quite a huge experience. So thank you for sharing. It's really nice of you to share. So let's go further. Let's discuss ways to solve the problem of plagiarism and academic misconduct. There are several steps, as we think, to manage this problem. And the first step is to update academic integrity code. We need to update policies on cheating, plagiarism, fabrication. We should include ChatGPT into updated academic integrity code. And of course, there should be some violation consequences. It's not okay if it's just policy written on the paper. If there are no consequences for students or for other authors, then people would continue to cheat. And of course, we should check students and authors for violation. And the last point is really important. I think that we should try to make it popular. We should try to explain to students that academic integrity matters, that it's the world we want to live in, and we don't want to live in a world full of cheating, plagiarism, and fabrication, and that it's not okay to represent such world. Another step is to diversify assignments. For example, we can make such assignments as collaboration with other students. We can make different tests and quizzes and tasks using ChatGPT. We can use scaffolding, also using ChatGPT. We can use differentiation in our class. And the last example, I think it's really important, is to give a constant feedback. If your student or an author gives you a draft and you give a feedback, and this process is going again and again, that you can be sure that this paper was written by this person. If all of a sudden your student gives you a perfect and excellent paper, and you know the student has never done such stuff before, then of course there are questions. So constant feedback can help us to combat academic misconduct. Another step, and I think it's also a very important step, is to find the core reason of cheating. Usually students have problems with time management, or with they have low motivation. Maybe they had a discouraging feedback in their past. Maybe they don't know how to express themselves, and why do they need to express themselves. So it's really important to understand the core reason of cheating. And of course, there are a lot of seducing stuff for students, such as paper mills or ChatGPT, a lot of ways to make it easier not to spend time to this assignment and just go watch Netflix, for example. Next step is to teach students academic integrity. Sometimes students or authors, other authors, they don't really know how to paraphrase it correctly. Sometimes they don't even understand that they have been cheating all over this time. They don't know citation rules. They can't even give you the examples of plagiarism. So if you have this knowledge, share this knowledge with your student. It would be really, really great for them. It would be really useful. Because if they are asked not to violate academic integrity code, they need to know what they shouldn't violate. And the last step is to use plagiarism detection system. not only to control students, but also to give them feedback. I will explain it to you a little bit later. But what is the most important, that we should do all these steps together. It doesn't work when we have only one step or two steps. I think that we should integrate all these steps in order to combat this academic misconduct. And I have another question for you. I hope that we can make this webinar more as a dialogue. It would be really great if you are involved. So what steps of plagiarism prevention have you already tried? Maybe you have some insights. Maybe you've tried some ways and you've learned something. So please share. It's really great if you communicate with each other and with me a little. So I'm opening a chat. Transport, boring, position, expansion, compression. Thank you. We're exploring using the Trinity software. Adding, deletion of new text. Okay. Thank you for your answers. Synonym replacement. Okay, so you're talking about finding plagiarism. Synonym replacement. Okay, so thank you for your answers. And let's talk a little bit about plagiarism detection systems quality and why it is really important. This is again a picture of kinds of plagiarism, of types of plagiarism. And here you can see what should a system possess in order to find these types of plagiarism. So if we speak about copy-paste, a system should have a large database. Why? Because when the text is downloaded, it's compared with all the database that a system has. And the more the database, the more matches and comparison the system can find. But this detection of matches should be really accurate. I will talk about it a little bit later. And if we speak about cross-language text reuse and paraphrasing, there are special modules to find these types of plagiarism in different languages. Okay. Yes. Why did I include paraphrasing here? Because paraphrasing can also be in different languages. A student can take an article in French, translate it, and then paraphrase it, and then maybe put some extra insertions in white font and make an essay. And if we speak about text modifications and AI-generated texts, there are also special modules to detect such types of plagiarism. And I will tell you a few words about Advacheck system and why is it called why is it called plagiarism prevention system. So how does it work? It's really easy. You download a document. System checks the document and gives you an editable report. And this report contains different sources with matches of this text. And report is analyzed by the expert or by the instructor. And actually, it's really important that every report should be analyzed by an instructor. Okay. Next page. Yeah, here you can see an example this text is colored by, is red, yellow, and green colored. Yellow color means text recycling. It means that this and this sentence was taken from previous publications of the author. Red text means that the system found a match, and green text means that there are correct quotations or bibliography. Here you can see the percentage, and here are different sources which match the text. And what is really important that every report should be analyzed, because sometimes we can see this red color and think, okay, this person is cheating, but it can be actually similarity from his previous work, or his work was made before the work which is represented in sources. So there are different cases, and we should be really attentive. So if you speak about Advacheck, it has a large database, has special modules in different languages for finding cross-language text reuse, paraphrasing, text modification, and AI-generated text. But also it has some advantages, like your organization's own database, document structure recognition, teacher-student interaction, and image reuse. I will give you some examples. So here is an example of copy and paste and of finding similarity. When I told you that similarity detection should be accurate, I meant that, well, for example, I can say a phrase, psychology plays an important role in our lives. And I guarantee you that this phrase can be found in the internet in like million sources, but it doesn't mean that it's plagiarism. It's just that my thought is the same, and this phrase is really commonly used. So a good plagiarism detection system should differ from phrases which are complex and which are taken from different sources and just commonly used phrases. So here I have an example where this phrase is large and it is from the source 38. And here you can see different small phrases from different sources. And it doesn't mean that these phrases are plagiarism. It means only that people use these phrases just to talk. They are commonly used. Okay, there is an interesting example of image reuse cases. Here you can see 3 pictures. Actually, it's one picture because this is the same picture, but elements are different. Here you can see one chemical element, another, and another. They are different. Can you imagine that these people who wrote these articles, they are going to be our doctors. They are going to work in pharmaceutical companies. They will make, I don't know, they will develop our medicine. Of course, it's awful when people use image reuse. It's not, it's an academic misconduct. And Advacheck can find image reuse. There is a special module which can find a picture and give you sources from with matches. Yes, Advacheck contains documents in more than 100 languages and can find cross-language text reuse in more than 100 languages. If we speak about your organization's own database, we mean that you can save previously checked documents like articles, student assignments. You can index them, and then the system will check it with its own database and with your organization's database. And the collection's volume is unlimited. And here is actually my favorite module. It's teacher-student interaction. I like it a lot because actually this module helps to prevent plagiarism. It's what we were talking about. It's about giving constant feedback to a student. So how does it work? A teacher has an opportunity to create courses and tasks inside these courses. Then Advacheck checks students' work, and the teacher can see the results and give them a proper feedback. I draw a picture for you just to explain the process. So teachers create a course and an assignment, invite students to the assignment, students download their work, Advacheck checks the document, it generates a report. Instructor or teacher checks the report, changes the report, and gives feedback to the student. And then, if everything is okay, students' work is added to the database. So it's really important to give students feedback. It's really important to encourage them and to explain them their mistakes. So, and I have a poll for you. It would be really great if you choose which Advacheck features do you consider as the most helpful. I can see that someone voted for. Oh, a lot of answers, but not my favorite teacher-student module. Okay, just 1 minute more. And I'll show you answers. Okay. So I shared the results. You can see that it's really important that the content is checked in multiple languages. Here's the winner. Okay, thank you for sharing. Let's go further. So actually, that's closer to an end. Let's summarize what we've learned today. We've discussed with you different types of plagiarism, such as copy and paste, text modification, paraphrasing, cross-language text reuse, and AI-generated text. We've talked about ways to solve the problem of academic misconduct, and there is a formula: academic integrity code plus students' motivation plus correct assignments and plus plagiarism detection system. And we've talked about Advacheck features such as teacher-student module, organization's own database, image reuse, and document structure recognition. And there is a bonus for those of you who stayed up to the end. You can scan this QR code and you will get a free trial period. Even if you have already plagiarism detection system, it's always good to expand your knowledge, to try something new. So you're welcome to try this product. I'm really proud of it, and I hope that you will like it. I will give you a link in the chat a little bit later. Yeah, a little bit later. I'll give you a link in the chat if you can't scan the QR code. So when you scan it, there is a form. You need to fill in this form, and our account managers will contact you and will give you free trial period. Okay, so this was it. Thank you very much for joining us for today's webinar. It was a real pleasure to talk to you. Please, if you have some questions, I'm ready to answer all your questions. And I wish you a good day. I hope you enjoyed this webinar, and I invite you to our next webinars. You can join us on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Actually, I guess I can send you links right now. So no questions. That's great. So thank you very much. Have a nice day and see you soon.